And countdown has resumed. We are in propellant loading operations. Check step 319 complete. And TLM step 320 at the DCOM, can you stop and restart telemetry archiving?
Copy that, LC. Archiving is stopped and restarted.
Copy, TLM. Check 320 complete. 321, 322 are not required for today's operation. Site control, step 323, you go to command tel to pre-pullback position.
LC, site control. Pre-pullback command has been sent. Intel is in motion.
And tell our work, wait for your call back at step 324.
Hey, copy that.
And launch team, be advised, we'll have started core low flow RP loading and low flow LO2 chill down to occur at T-minus 1 hour, 16 minutes.
LC tel on countdown.
Go ahead, Tel.
We are in pre-pullback.
Okay, copy pre-pullback. We'll check step 324 complete.
LC, prop 3 on countdown 1, I can confirm the start of low flow RP loading and the start of LO2 vehicle chill down.
Copy that lead. We'll check 326 complete. And launch team, be advised, we'll be coming up on core high flow RP loading in just about 2 minutes.
LC, prop 3, I have step 327, high flow RP loading.
Copy, we have high flow RP loading, check 327 complete.
LC, prop 3. I have step 328. High flow LO2 chill down has started.
Okay, copy. High flow LO2 chill down. Check step 328 complete. And launch team LC, countdown 1. At this time, I want a report of readiness for accumulator refill, GCE.
GCEs go.
EHS.
EHS is go.
Ops 1.
Ops 1 is go.
Prop 2.
And Prop 2 is go.
And Prop 3.
Prop 3 is go.
Okay, we're ready for a refill. And Prop 3, I'd like you to go to Anomaly 2 to perform HSS accumulator refill procedure. And that's Appendix Juliet.
Copy that. Inward. Alright, do I have prop 2 on Anomaly 2? Copy that. Alright, prop 2. Let's perform set Juliet 1. Place OCCS into SAC mode and pause HSS ASC. That's A firm.
Prop 3, you are on countdown 1.
Standby. Sorry about that.
launch team LC, countdown 1, passing through T-minus 1 hour to our target T0. We are currently in our core high flow RP loading and our core high flow LO2 chill down. Next milestone will be at 56 minutes from T0, where we will transition and start a core low flow LO2 loading.
LC, prop 3 on countdown 1.
Go ahead, 3.
We have HSS accumulator refill complete.
Okay, copy that. Prop lead, we'll check step 330 complete.
LC prop 3, we have low flow LO2 loading.
Okay, copy that. Prop 3, we'll check step 331 complete.
LC, prop lead, step 332. High flow LO2 loading, verified.
Copy that. Prop lead. We'll check step 332 complete.
LC Site Control, I'm going to be off net for 1.
Copy that. Site control. And launch team LC, countdown 1, passing through T-minus 50 minutes to our target T0 for today. Approximately 5 minutes, we'll be selecting our trajectory file for upload for today's launch operation. And then following that, we will look to put our orb nav into gyro compass alignment. Currently in high flow LO2 loading and high flow RP loading as well. All agencies are reporting green, and we're working no issues at this time.
LC Site Control.
Go, Site Control.
We're going to be performing a recharge of the rapid retract system at T-minus 35.
Sorry, you faded off there at the end there, Site Control.
We're going to be performing a recharge of the rapid retract at T-minus 35.
Copy, T-minus 35. And GNC1 LC, countdown 1, step 333. We go to provide our trajectory file for today's launch operation.
LC, GNC1, we would like to select trajectory file 3 for today's launch operation.
Okay, copy that. We'll check 333 and Ops 1, step 334. Here we go to select trajectory file number 3.
LC Ops 1, alternate trajectory file number 3 selected.
LC, GNC1, trajectory file 3 verified in telemetry.
Okay, copy that. We'll check 334, and 335. And Ops 1, step 336, can you verify ground to vehicle communication was nominal?
LC Ops 1, ground to vehicle comm nominal.
Copy that. We'll check 336. And Ops 1, step 336, grounded, step 337, can you verify OrbNav settings?
LC Ops 1, OrbNav settings verified.
Okay, copy that. And Ops 1, you go to initialize nav position.
OrbNav position sent.
LC prop lead, cold helium bottle, submerged confirmed, step 343.
Copy that. We'll go ahead and check 343.
LC, GNC1, telemetry verified.
Roger that, GNC1, check 339 complete. And at this time, I want to report a readiness for gyro compass align, GNC1.
GNC1 is go.
And Ops 1.
Ops 1 is go.
And Elect 1.
Elect 1 is go.
Okay, we're ready for GC align, check 340. And Ops 1, you go to mode OrbNav to GC align.
LC Ops 1, OrbNav and GC align. IRIG is 003339.
And I copy Ops 1, check 341 complete.
And LC prop lead, step 344, start of cold helium bottle charging verified.
Okay, lead, I copy that. We'll check step 344 complete. And TLMLC step 345, let's configure launch vehicle decom source to open loop.
Copy and work. And LCTLM, launch vehicle decom switch to open loop, time 003710. Launch vehicle open loop telemetry being received and nominal.
Okay, TLM, I copy that. We'll check step 345 and 346 complete.
LC, TD on countdown 1.
Go ahead, TD.
Range is green for toxics and debris.
Okay, copy that. Range green for toxics and debris.
Just a note to everybody listening on YouTube, Pete Coles here down in Chincoteague Island looking at Wallops Island. You're looking live at the pad from the NASA feed, and you're looking live at our feed about 4 miles away from the pad here at Wallops Island. And everything is still green, going on the countdown. Countdown is proceeding normally. And we'll be back with you in about 10 minutes to start our show. We also have the What's on Board video that got interrupted last night because of the no-go poll last night. And we'll be back with that shortly. In the meantime, Pete Coles here at Wallops Island. We're at Chincoteague Island. I know that. I understand that. But we're looking at Wallops Island.
LC, GNC1, orb nav telemetry verified.
And they're still going through the pre-checklist.
We'll check step 342 complete.
And we're going to leave that countdown net up while we're have the pictures of the pad going on shortly. And you'll be seeing that, and we're coming up on channel 15 at about 8:49 with liftoff scheduled at 9:16.
And Launch Team LC countdown net, we're at T-minus 35 minutes to our target T0. Step 347, Ops 1, your go to enable local launch enable button at the failsafe panel and verify local indicator is illuminated.
LC Ops 1, launch enabled and illuminated.
And GSO Step 348, enable local launch enable button at the fail-safe panel. Verify local indicators illuminated.
This is GSO, launch enabled and illuminated.
And at this time, I want to verify RCC enable abort buttons are enabled and illuminated. PM?
Enabled and illuminated.
And RSO?
RSO enabled and illuminated.
And FSO?
FSO enabled and illuminated.
And TD?
TD is enabled and illuminated.
Copy all. We'll check 349 complete.
LC Ops 1, Master, Global Launch Enable Verified.
LC Elect 1, launch enable verified.
Copy all. We'll check Step 350 and 351. And Ops 1, you can stop sending ECU commands.
LC Ops 1, ECU commands halted.
Copy that.
Coming up online now at just about quarter of the hour. We're about 31 minutes away from launch. Hello, partner in crime.
Good evening. This is technically attempt number 3. In most people's eyes, attempt number 2.
Right.
Now, it was tweeted, actually, that yesterday it was scrubbed because somebody possibly hit the wrong button.
Well, that was somebody said they hit the wrong button, apparently, on the countdown net, and most people didn't catch that. But apparently they said it. They had one issue they were working with ground support equipment. They were able to do a reset on that, and it came back. And then it must have conked out again. Either way, what happened overnight was the equipment fault was not in the rocket itself. The rocket remained vertical on the pad. As of this morning, it was vertical on the pad. They never lowered it from the vertical position that I was aware of. They would have announced. I think they would have announced that on Northrop Grumman. So the problem was not serious. The item was fixed overnight, and NASA and Northrop Grumman came out early this morning saying we are a go for a 9:16 liftoff tonight, which is what we're counting down towards. You hear the countdown net pop in and out on us as we're going along, and that's where we're counting down for. Now, tonight is going to be a twofer, hopefully.
Perhaps.
Hopefully, we'll see. SpaceX has a 9:43 launch scheduled from pad Slick 40, I believe, down. No, 39A. Tonight's a 39A launch, I believe.
Oh, that's a very famous pad.
Yeah. So they're going to be launching a GPS-3 satellite tonight as well. If they were launching at the exact same time, the inclination, they'd intersect at some point.
We're at T-minus 30 minutes to our target T0. At this time, I want to poll for final FTS power on and arm command test. Safety?
Safety is go.
FSO?
FSO's go.
Ops 1?
Ops 1 is go.
Elect 2?
Elect 2 is go.
And we'll go final FTS power on and arm command test. FSO, you go to bring up command transmitter with check channel on.
And work.
And LC will step in like that every now and then. Or maybe I should say we step in and
we talk over them. So
yeah.
So what's going to happen is the range is allowing both launches to go on, which hasn't happened in quite some time. You're seeing venting on the rocket now. Propellant load's been going on for quite some time now. We're within a half an hour. Propellant load's nearly complete on the rocket itself. And so potentially for 2 launches tonight.
LCFSO, Waltz command site on, check channel radiating.
Copy that, FSO. Ops 1, step 355, you go to apply external power to FTSA and FTSB.
LC Ops 1, FTSA, external power on. FTSB, external power on.
They're checking the flight termination system is what they're doing right now.
FTS external power nominal.
LC Elect 2, FTS is safe, configuration verified, check channel being received, and AGCs are nominal.
So flight termination
Copy
system
all,
check.
Ops 1, check 358. Step 358, transfer FTSA and FTSB to internal power.
LC Ops 1, FTSA and B, internal power on, external power off. IRIG is 004800.
Good calls as we proceed on through the countdown.
FSO, step 360.
So the GPS launch is another contracted launch. Been a tough week for rockets on the Eastern Range.
I would say so.
Delta IV Heavy, they haven't even asked for a new launch date yet. GPS 3 slipped to today because of their ground system problem.
LC Elect 2, FTS
And Starlink is looking for Monday for their launch. So busy week. They were talking about possibly 2 this weekend with maybe a Delta IV Heavy and a Starlink, but that's not going to happen. It's just been busy on the Eastern Range. A lot of backlog.
Right.
SpaceX still has a backlog of huge amounts with clients waiting to fly. Plus, they're really making a push for Starlink to go up and really start ramping that system up. It's not farther south enough yet. I heard Elon Musk tweeting about this earlier today. He rents a house down in South Padre Island,
right
near Boca Chica, and it's not good enough there for him. It's not even good enough for him to use it down there yet. So, and I'm sure he gets priority access. But they've started deploying Starlink terminals now to people fighting the wildfires in California and Washington State for emergency operations setups. And apparently it's working quite well for them.
Excellent.
The fire chief out there, the EOC director, was like, "This is the easiest setup he's ever had for a satellite-based internet terminal."
Right.
So that's pretty cool.
And that's the going-ons with the Falcon 9s and SpaceX in Florida. That brings us over to Virginia. This is actually the NG-14 mission. It's an Antares 230-plus vehicle bringing a Cygnus spacecraft module up to the ISS.
Yeah, which is basically a cargo ship. And it's specifically set up to transport the maximum amount of cargo you can put into a cylinder.
And in this case, it's one of the heaviest loads this vehicle has actually brought up. It's looking at 8,100 pounds right now.
Yeah, and that's what it's designed for, about 8,100, 200 pounds. And everything's kind of modularized. All the stuff going on, they have modules at the ISS. They have modules on the walls of the Cygnus spacecraft, and everything just kind of slides in. It's like a cookie cutter.
Right.
So all the stuff has to be designed to spec, so it can fit in the Cygnus cargo module, and so it can also fit in the ISS. That's power connections. Everything is very distinctly defined. It was defined that way. Every space is exactly the same. They know where it's going here, the exact spot to where it's going there. Everything's very choreographed out. Plus, they're carrying up some fresh food items, some perishables that were loaded yesterday morning. And they don't have to be recycled because they're good for a day, a couple days.
Right.
They're okay. And it is all climate controlled in there. Temperature controlled inside the Cygnus module. Outside in the trunk, that's all exposed to space. But generally, those are CubeSats and small sats.
Exactly. And once the Antares vehicle does get up into...
Team LC, we just passed T-minus 25 minutes to our target T0. At this time, I would like to get a report of readiness for recalibration of engine pressure sensors, MES2.
MES2 is go.
EHS1?
EHS1 is go.
Okay, we're ready for engine pressure sensor recal. Ops 1, you go for step 365.
LC Ops 1.
All normal stuff.
So it'll take approximately 2 days for the Cygnus spacecraft to make its way to the ISS, where it will be berthed there for about 2 months.
Yeah, and Northrop Grumman previously, Orbital ATK has done a lot. Okay, that's a good call. They've done a lot to really see how long the Cygnus can go after it departs the space station to do other operations on orbit, including deploying.
Place OCCS in the SAC mode and pause the HSS ASC.
And copy and work.
Too many acronyms. They want to see how long. At one point, they were operating 2 Cygnus spacecraft from the control center in Dulles, near Dulles.
HSS
right.
ASC paused.
And it was pretty wild. The control team did very well with the 2 Cygnus spacecraft. One had departed the space station, was in a higher orbit, and one was approaching the space station. So 2 at once.
I do want to correct myself. I said it's going to be berthed for 2 months. In this case, it's 90 days.
So a month and a half.
Month and a half.
Yeah, the space station's been pretty busy with now.
8021 is open.
I mean, Boeing is supposed to do their second flight test of Starliner later this year.
You're good to resume HSS ASC.
I just read an article that NASA officials said that might be optimistic, that they get it off before the end of this year. The next SpaceX launch for Crew 1, the first operational mission, will be October 31st at 2:30 in the morning.
I know, I'm
Happy
free
Halloween.
for that. I'm free for that, are you?
We'll see if my funding holds out. Happy Halloween to everybody for that one, but you can go down there.
I might.
Copy that.
I'll let you borrow some equipment. I can anchor it from home.
Okay. LC, countdown 1, step 372.
We'll see.
You go to Armtel for rapid retract.
Typically, each mission is named after somebody with these Antares launches. And when we get up to the poll for no-go, you'll hear the NG call, Northrop Grumman call out. And this time it's named after Kalpana Chawla. She is the first woman of Indian descent to go into space.
And she has passed away, I believe.
So this
is a posthumous honor.
So this trip is
the spacecraft.
named after
the spacecraft, not the trip.
Yeah, the spacecraft. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yep. I'm reading ahead 3 or 4 pages so that I attempt to sound smart. Speaking of smart, there's not just food, but there's supplies and science and things like that that's loaded into the Cygnus module.
Yeah, why don't we take a look at that right now?
Okay.
Arm enable rotated, arm enable illuminated.
And you can arm stage 1 controller, ODM.
Stage 1 controller, ODM, arm.
Ops 2 set stage 1 controller, UV rest.
We've been developing cancer cell-specific biological drugs that can selectively and effectively go after cancer cells. And we uncovered that cancer cells have a foreign language that they only speak in the body. This allows us to exploit this language to encrypt our biological drugs in that foreign language so only cancer cells can understand us. So we're doing this extreme form of stress testing under microgravity. That is our first achievement. If we can identify at least one candidate that is resistant to leakiness in normal cells, despite being pushed to this microgravity conditions, then there's a good chance that when we go into the clinic with hundreds of different types of cancer cell ribosomes, cancer cell biomarkers, then we will be able to still rely on this asset for clinical development.
Astronauts will take our cells and put them back into the proper 37-degree cell culture incubator. And then with syringes, they are going to apply our reagents into the cancer cells and the healthy cells. And then the next day, they are going to do the readout and see whether this differential behavior is recapitulated in microgravity conditions.
This is all about betting on the right assets for future development. Because drug development is costly and it takes time, and we're also building hope with patients. We want to identify the best candidates for them.
I know it's a toilet, and I get a big laugh from my friends all the time, like, oh, he's building a toilet, and you're like, not just a toilet, a titanium space toilet. So it's pretty nifty, especially when you get into the complexities of it.
The UWMS is 65% smaller and 40% lighter than the current toilet used on ISS. Our toilet will be installed just adjacent to that toilet and will undergo a concurrent use with that toilet as we do the demonstration.
One of the things the UWMS has to do is it actually has to inject pre-treat into the urine before it sends it to the urine processor assembly. The pre-treat is a very strong acid, and it is not very compatible with a lot of materials, so that forced us to have to use a lot of exotic materials such as Inconel, Elgiloy, titanium. So one of the coolest things that we actually did on this project is we implemented a process called electron beam powder bed fusion. That's just a big fancy word for 3D printing. You know, when we go to the bathroom here, gravity pulls everything to the ground, essentially away from the body. Well, in microgravity, when you go into space, you don't have that luxury. So we have to essentially create our own artificial gravity. So at the heart of the UWMS is the dual fan separator, and that's actually the part that's actually made out of the 3D printed titanium.
Exploration is a hard business. It's uncomfortable. There's a lot of things that the crew has to do just to explore. And the goal with the UWMS is to meet the challenges of spaceflight in terms of mass and volume and power usage and keep within those constraints, but also make it a system that the crew has a more likelihood to be comfortable with.
The objective of the experiment seems very simple, and it is growing radishes on the ISS. I know that radishes have been grown several times, but never in the advanced plant habitat, where we have actually enough space to grow a number of plants that allow us to do some statistics.
Plant habitat is currently the largest, most complex plant growth system on the space station. The actual growth volume itself for plants measures about 20 by 20 by 20 inches cubed. So all the rest of the volume of plant habitat is all of the stuff that it takes to provide a controlled environment for the plants that are growing inside of the growth chamber.
Radishes grow to a sizable volume, and a big piece of that mass is the radish itself, that bulbous tissue, and the process of developing this secondary tissue is completely unresearched in space. But it is relevant because it is sensitive to all these things that we have on station. So it adds to this rather complex set of data that we need to get a handle on to properly grow and understand the cultivation of plants in space.
To go to Mars is a long haul, and to go any further than Mars is longer yet. So without a doubt, unless we are going to have space vehicles that have rotating elements that can provide some fractional gravity, there's going to be a microgravity area. And in order to grow a reasonable amount of plants, we're talking about much larger systems.
And so this experiment is one way of trying to get a little closer.
For the past 2 years, we have been in intensive production on a project called Space Explorers, the ISS Experience, that is filming inside and outside of the International Space Station through the immersive power of virtual reality. And in a few months, we're going to take the camera outside to document a full spacewalk and to film exterior shots of the space station as well as shots of planet Earth. What we are doing now is getting ready to launch our EVA virtual reality camera, which is a slightly different system to the IVA camera that we've been using for the past 2 years inside of the space station.
We worked in collaboration with NanoRacks to make it basically resistant to the pressure of space, the extreme variations in temperature. So we had to make sure that the lenses were also certified for use outside. And we're basically going to use Dexter and the Canadarm as kind of a celestial crane, as you would in the movies, to shoot outside of the ISS. Beyond the ISS, of course, are a lot more places to explore. So this has really been invaluable knowledge to help us design future cameras that are going to go deeper into space.
Once audiences experience it, I believe they will not want to go back to traditional media to experience space content. You know, it's going to be the sort of default fast track. Space equals immersive media. And because of that, I think that we're going to be busy in the next few years doing more and more and more of those projects.
NASA is looking for strategies to take advantage of the waste generated in the International Space Station. And one of those waste is urine. After certain processes, the urine can be converted to ammonia. And the ammonia can be used as a fuel in a fuel cell. The project intends to help with the water recycling and also generate electrical current.
And ammonia oxidation is just one component of a process that has been developed in the lab for several years now that can be used to purify urine. This will create a system that can be used for that.
This is the module, like it's open. Everything will be inside. Now it's out because I'm testing it, right? But if you see the tubings, the wires, the pumps, and also this white box is the autonomous potential step.
So this is more than an application for the space station. If it's efficient in the space station, it's more efficient in Earth. So that's sort of what we want to demonstrate, that it can work.
Countdown. GSO?
GSO, go.
RSO?
RSO's go.
TD?
TD is go.
Prop lead?
Prop lead is go.
Stage 1?
Stage 1 is go.
MES1?
MES1 is go.
GCE?
GCE is go.
ACE?
ACE is go.
Mars?
Mars is go.
CMD?
CMD is go.
LD?
LD is go.
NG?
In honor of Kalpana Chawla, whose research on astronaut health and safety during spaceflight helped pave the way for humans to live and work in space, Northrop Grumman is go.
Copy that, Northrop Grumman. We are go to proceed with final countdown. Check step 388. Ops 2, LC, be advised, step 389 is not required for today's operation. Step 390 will not be required for today's operation.
And that call was the final launch readiness. Cygnus has been transitioned into launch mode. It is ready for flight. No extra top off on the tanks needed. All propellants were loaded and nominal, as our good friend Tim Dodd always says. Nominal.
And those repellents in this case are oxygen and rocket grade kerosene.
Well, not just oxygen.
And passing T-minus 11
liquid
minutes.
oxygen.
Of course.
Yeah.
Isn't that a given?
Not to the people standing around us.
Okay. How about liquid oxygen
Yes.
and rocket grade kerosene?
Correct.
You see, tonight I'm actually saying rocket grade kerosene.
Right.
Because I picked up from you that I just shouldn't say kerosene
Kerosene, correct,
anymore.
yes.
Because this is not the stuff that you put in your camping light to make light, up to your campsite.
Right.
Yeah.
We are now 10 minutes from launch, according to my clock, which is pretty well synced onto the time. Launch is scheduled for 9:16. Going to stay with you through the operations on that, and as long as the feed for Wallop stays up, and then we're going to come back here, and then we're going to look for the start of the SpaceX feed from Florida. We'll take that as it starts and take some of that coverage as well. Hopefully we get 2 off tonight, and we're hoping to get the first one off here and start the fireworks for tonight. So one good launch light up the sky down here in Wallops Island and Chincoteague Island.
And
which
T-minus 10 minutes.
great crowd gathering here in the McDonald's parking lot. Give a shout out to the Chincoteague Diner for accommodating us earlier with some good food for dinner.
Excellent.
And the Days Inn across the way for accommodating us yesterday. Hey, you help us out and we help you out. So this is what we do.
So you did mention about 10 minutes to lift off. There are several steps that are going to happen once this vehicle is launched. You start at ignition at T0. At 3.7 seconds, you do have liftoff. And then after that, and it's not on my sheet here, but I happen to know that not that long afterwards, you end up with max Q. And that's when you have to throttle down a bit because you have the maximum dynamic pressure on the vehicle.
But since this is an Antares 230 Plus,
it doesn't need a throttle, does it?
They've stiffened the body of the rocket, so you no longer need to throttle down.
391, enable ACS VDMs.
Then at 3 minutes and 18 seconds into the flight, we have MECO.
Internal power
Main engine cutoff.
Yes. Onward to 3 minutes and 24 seconds.
Enabled, voltage nominal, and commands cleared.
Stage 1 is
Copy
separated.
One, check
Stage 1
391,
separation.
check 392. And launch team be advised, step 393 will not be required for today's operation.
At 3 minutes and 54 seconds, fairing separation happens. And then on to 3 minutes and 59 seconds, we have the interstage separation, followed by stage 2 ignition at 4 minutes and 7 seconds. We move on to 6 minutes and 52 seconds into flight. We have SECO, which is the second engine cutoff, and that's when you get orbit insertion. And then at 8 minutes and 52 seconds, we have the payload separation. The payload, of course, being that Cygnus spacecraft. And did I hear earlier correctly? They have a toilet in the Cygnus module right now?
Correct. Yes, they do. For the first time in several years in the ISS, they have a new design for a toilet that they're going to be testing on the ISS, and it's going to go right alongside the old one.
Right.
So we'll have two.
Conditioning initiated.
Copy site control, check step 394.
There's also a lot of science and supplies on here, but something that's kind of neat with the Cygnus module is after it's done, after it's emptied, the crew from the ISS start to load their trash and their rubbish into it.
Right. And Cygnus continues to operate after it departs the ISS, usually deploying small sats and CubeSats. That's when those get deployed for colleges, universities, and some commercial clients. That would happen after the Cygnus departs. Its primary mission is, of course, to NASA for the resupply. When all of that is done and the extended Cygnus operation is over, then it deorbits.
7 minutes.
It deorbits and burns in the atmosphere and takes that trash away with it. What are you reading over there?
I'm reading ahead to see if there's anything else really cool that I want to mention here, so that I sound really smart and intelligent. But and you have to remember, I'm reading this stuff off a piece of paper.
Operations continue normally, working no issues at all tonight.
You go to initialize ground ordnance power supplies.
LC Alpha 2, ground ordnance power supplies initialized.
Ground ordnance power supplies nominal.
LC prop lead BTSO activation verified.
Okay.
Copy all their prop lead ops 2, elect 1, check 395, 396, and 397.
When propellant lead kind of jumps in, you might want to listen to that.
Yes.
Because, that's when things get funky sometimes.
I agree with you.
And you know what it is? One of the few female voices in the countdown nets is propellant. Both prop 1 and prop 2 are both females. So those jump out right at you.
Yes. Yes, that's why with telephones years and years and years ago, women were used because their voices carried better for operators and whatnot.
GN2 confirmed.
Roger that, site control. Check step 398.
But it's hard to tell by looking at the
and
screen.
And launch team be advised, step 399, not required for today's operation.
We are 5 minutes away.
Exactly how large or how small you think this vehicle might be. It's actually 12.8 feet in diameter and 139.4 feet in height.
Right, all included in the fairing. 139. That's the whole rocket.
Right.
139 feet.
Right.
The Cygnus module, I think, is only like 21 feet. It's either 13 or 21 feet, as I recall.
21 feet in height.
Ooh! Wow, I remember all that. That's pretty scary. That's pretty scary.
T-minus 5 minutes. Ops 1. Transfer avionics to internal power.
Yeah, we're about 40 seconds behind on the getting the feed.
Stand by for command completion.
Almost time for you to get at the ready at your camera, is it not?
I'm getting ready to get out of my chair.
LC Ops 1, external power off.
We could talk all we want, but we got business around here. And there is a shot from the camera, our live camera here, and that'll be the live.
Internal power's nominal.
Launch coverage.
Like 1 Ops 1, open FTS envelope.
4 minutes to launch.
LC Ops 1, FTS Combi loop open and green.
LC Elect 2, FTLU and FTS receiver indications are nominal.
Working
Copy,
zero
two.
problems tonight.
Ops 1, you go to send. All armed command.
That's okay.
Don't say it.
All armed command sent.
SNAs, ODMs, all armed.
Actually, we have a very pretty spot here to see this.
Status.
We got lucky in our
range
scouting.
Range is green, and we're down
Roger
to
that. Check 406.
just under 4 minutes, probably
Launch team,
closer
be
to
advised,
3.
Step 407, not required.
Looking at a beautiful night here. A chilly night, one of the first chilly nights down here in Shinkiti Island. Last night it was about 10 to 15 degrees warmer at this time. But right across the marsh here from Assateague Light, which is a very historic lighthouse, and it's part of the federal
And launch team,
park.
be advised, Phase 3 dynamic limits will be active at T-minus 3 minutes.
Looking forward to a liftoff on time at 9:16 tonight.
FC commanded to flight mode.
Another good call, 3 minutes away.
And Peter, I'm going to leave it all up to you
Auto
for a bit.
start.
I'm going to keep myself trained.
ODM bus voltages.
Looking forward.
All right.
Copy all, LEC 1. GNC-1, verify ready for nav mode.
LC, GNC-1, orb nav ready for nav mode.
Now,
Roger that.
to those watching on
Two,
the
step 414, switch to nav.
to those watching on the
Altitude
feed,
two,
we're
orb nav,
probably
switch
about
to
30
nav.
seconds behind getting the feed from NASA on
Copy
their
that. Altitude
Ustream.
check 414.
That's how we're pulling
LC, GNC-1, orb nav telemetry verified.
we're pulling the countdown
Roger
net.
that, GNC-1.
So you will see the launch happen live in just under 2 minutes on the live camera up here right now. You'll see that launch happen in 2 minutes and 40 seconds. You'll see that launch happen, and then see how far our intrepid camera operator can track that this time around. And then we'll go to the NASA feed for some more, see what they have for their tracking cameras located on base over
T-minus
at the
2
Atlantic.
minutes on my mark.
Yeah, we're about 40 seconds behind.
Mark.
44 seconds behind on the feed. So right now we are 1 minute and 10 seconds to launch. I'm going to do a countdown from my thing because I think I'm pretty close on this. And as Keith Kohler from NASA Public Relations had told us, their feed is a little bit behind. So we're calling out the final steps. Now 50 seconds from launch.
T-minus 1 minute, 30 seconds.
We'll see if anything pops up in the net as we count down. But now we're about just about 30 seconds away. Take one last look at the pad camera. Everything looks normal. Venting still continues on the rocket. And if my partners,
T-minus 1 minute.
if everything's locked out. In 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition. Maybe even I'm behind.
T-minus 30 seconds. Mark.
Maybe they're right on time. We have ignition. Antares is lifted off the pad and it's cleared the tower. Now pitching downrange and picking up speed as it clears the pad. Sound should be reaching us shortly as Antares pitches downrange away from the pad now. Working, no issues. Still haven't gotten the sound yet. That's pretty cool. My partner doing a great job tracking Antares as it heads off into the distance now. Several miles high and coming into max Q range. Now getting the noise. Antares now passing through max Q. Maximum dynamic pressure, although with a stiffened rocket, that's not a big deal. There it is, passing through max Q. You see the smoke trail off of it. Now heading on trajectory to catch it up with the International Space Station, which the orbital train has passed over right at liftoff. First stage cutoff should be coming shortly. As you see the plume trail getting wider and wider as it enters the upper atmosphere, and the plume starts to phase out. Standing by for main engine cutoff, which should be coming in about 20 or so seconds. Still tracking Antares as it heads downrange. Try to catch up with the International Space Station. Still seeing first stage here from the launch site. Standing by for MECO. First stage still burning. Main engine cutoff not as of yet. There it is, main engine cutoff. Now they'll begin a coast phase as the first stage ejects. And we go for second engine. Going now to the NASA feed, you'll see the cutoff in about 20 seconds or so. Waiting for second stage ignition, if we can see it this time. Waiting to see if we can see second engine ignition. We might be able to see it tonight. It is clear enough for that. Not tonight, so that may obscure a little bit. There it is, second engine ignition. You got it? Second. Second stage burn still going on for the Wallops feed. And now we get ready for our next one up.
Attitude nominal. All
Back here, and the feed is all set from NG-14. And I'm going to try to recover that. I'm going to close that one. We're still here waiting for SpaceX's launch, and I'm going to work on getting that up now. SpaceX's GPS-3 Vehicle 4 mission is coming up shortly from I believe it's the Kennedy Space Center. And we're up. How great is that? So we finish one broadcast, and we pick up another one here. GPS 4, you hear the music from SpaceX underneath, and you'll see it on your screen if you're watching at home. So we had a great launch here and a wonderful night here in Chincoteague Island, watching a great liftoff from Wallops as Cygnus makes its way to the International Space Station for one mission this evening. One more mission coming up. We have SpaceX coming up shortly, and let's put them in the bottom square so we can keep an eye on them. It's cool what I can do with this new device here that we have. Can do all kinds of cool stuff with it. Your mic is open. You can talk.
I'll take the second. I'll take the center square, please.
Yeah, let's see. Let's put that one up. I'm gonna put that up in the bottom right corner. There's SpaceX's feed. So we had a great launch here tonight. Everything went as planned. No issues tonight, which was different than before. Have you seen SpaceX's new open? This is really cool.
Ignition. Liftoff.
Falcon 9 has cleared the tower.
Ten, 9, 8.
Side booster ignition.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening. It's Friday, October 2nd, and on your screen is a live view of Falcon 9 awaiting its 9:43 p.m. Eastern Time launch from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida. My name is Jesse Anderson, and I'm a lead manufacturing engineer here at SpaceX. Welcome to our webcast coverage for GPS-3 Space Vehicle 4.
So let's reflect on while they're getting their stuff ready. Let's reflect on what we just saw. Worked no issues tonight, which was great.
Oh ye of little faith. I think I was able to properly track that up to Miko.
Little focus.
Yeah.
Focus.
Yes. Yeah, and
gotta teach you about manual focus.
And I know exactly when that focusing issue was. and I would not even have been able to manually focus because I was expecting the trajectory to go slightly in a slightly different direction, and I had to dance with the tripod. I had to play tango here.
I did warn you that it might be a different angle than you're used to.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping it was going to pitch to the left, but it pitched up a lot higher than what I was expecting.
It pitched up over Assateague Island, and pretty much it kind of went up over Assateague, and then it went downrange. It was kind of just to the west of the lighthouse.
Yes.
North of the lighthouse.
It went over to the left a little bit further than what I was expecting, but. Outside of the slight bit of focus issue for about 10 seconds, I was able to keep with it this time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and all's quiet now on the pad. If we want to take a look at that, all's quiet on the pad here at Wallops Island, and you see some venting going on as you see the vehicles heading back out there, out to Wallops Island to secure the pad now. You can see some of that going on. The vehicles heading back to the pad to secure it out, and as your focus went out. That's what happens to autofocus in a dark atmosphere.
I'm not going to sit here with my hand on the focus ring all night long.
No, I know, but once you said it, you should be okay. Anyways, we're still 11 minutes away from an on-time Falcon launch. That is at SLC 40, Slick 40 here at what you're watching right now is Slick 40 in Florida. And, depending on the track of that, I was just wondering
while you look at the track of that, we were kind of reflecting on what just happened here. And I just want to mention one thing. Obviously we weren't out at the Wallops Island facility for this. They only let 10 people in for media. So, we didn't really discuss this earlier. You and I drove all around this island trying to scout out an area where we could shoot from and actually have a signal that we could broadcast with. And sure, you could see the launch from a lot of places on this island, but very few locations had the shot actually down at Pad OA. And it happens to be in a parking lot near Assateague Island. And very few people from out of state were in this location. There were a lot of locals.
Yeah.
And I mentioned all of that to mention this. The local folk came over and approached us and were super friendly. Oftentimes, local people are like, oh, geez, a tourist. Oh, you're, another tourist. But these people, they're warm and welcoming. And they came the following day and remembered us and spoke to us. And one even said, you want me to go? I'm going through the drive-through. Do you want me to get you guys any food?
I know, that was great.
And that type of that treatment by the local folk down here is something I'm going to take back just as much as that launch. because that's just something you don't really experience all too often.
And this one, they just showed on the feed. If you just took a look on the feed, Miss Tree and Miss Chief are out there looking for fairings. They're hunting fairings tonight.
Be very, very quiet. I'm hunting fairings.
Mm-hmm. So, and also, of course, I Still Love You, the drone ship, is out on out in the Atlantic, waiting for first stage.
That will retrieve the booster.
Yep, waiting for first stage to land back on the thing. And I love this guy.
Most recently, we completed the poll to proceed with propellant load and launch. This was at T-minus 38 minutes, and all parties were go. So the team at Cape Canaveral began loading propellant at T-minus 35 minutes. We used the same propellants on both the first and second stages. The second stage is primarily a short version of a first stage. That's one of the many reliability features in the Falcon design. Our fuel is a refined form of kerosene known as RP1. Our oxidizer is super chilled liquid oxygen called LOX. We chill it well below the boiling point so we can load more onto the booster, as well as avoid the need to continue topping it off to make up for losses due to propellant boil off. Now currently the second stage that you can see on the screen just above that black inner stage cylinder, that second stage is fully loaded with the RP1 kerosene fuel. The first stage is going
If you
to
notice
continue
my partner
loading
in crime
kerosene
over here,
fuel until T-minus
this is a
6
brand
minutes.
new Falcon 9
Liquid oxygen
for the
is loading
GPS-3
onto both
mission.
the first and second stages
There
right
is
now.
no soot on it.
We're also loading helium into storage vessels on the first and second
Oh, look at
stages.
it. It's a beautifully white Falcon 9.
It is.
It is a brand new one. Now, when the next Starlink mission happens, that will be flying the same booster core that flew Bob and Doug to the International Space Station, and this will be the third flight of that booster core.
That's cool.
It's already been used for one other Starlink mission.
So several times tonight, you did mention the Starlink mission, and
Starlink 12 or 13, I think.
Well, there may be some folk watching on one of our feeds right now that are still sitting there, saying, "What's Starlink?"
Starlink is a cluster of satellites that. Dennis Aiken said that he saw it from Rehoboth Beach. He's texting me.
Excellent. So he was able to look up, and he was within the viewing area to see that fly over.
Yep. I'm getting a text from Les Tingley. We had a bit of an issue there for a little bit, but now we're back. We got all the way through Seco, so we're doing okay on the feed. We had a bit of an issue, and then it came back, so don't everybody worry about it.
So we were talking about the Starlink.
Starlink is a cluster of satellites to deliver internet to the entire world, basically. The entire globe is eventually going to be covered with, I think they said something like 38,000 or 21,000. It's either 21,000 or 31,000 satellites, mini-sats, that will create a cluster all over the world.
And this is something where you just take a little panel and you aim it up into the sky, and that's how you get your internet from that.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And people have already said it's very, very easy to install. It's a very self-contained unit, and it does really cool stuff. So let's find out what's on board this rocket.
We use GPS every day.
Today, everyone has GPS technology in their pocket.
It's 25 years of space-based position, navigation, and timing, supporting the entire world.
GPS touches the lives of everyday people all the time. It's changed the way we work, it's changed the way we play with over 4 billion users worldwide. We're already preparing for the next generation of GPS satellites with our GPS-3 follow-on contract, and we're inserting greater technology for greater capability.
The brand new United States Space Force owns this premier asset and provides this position, navigation, and timing service to everyone.
We're just over 4 minutes from liftoff. Everything continues to be go for launch. Right now, the clamp arms around the second stage are opening. We are about to retract the strongback away from the Falcon 9. We're going to move it about 2 degrees away. You can see on the monitor the arms are open. We've pressurized the stages as part of that. And right now we are moving away, like I said, about 2 degrees away. At liftoff, hydraulics will then pull the strongback to a position that's 45 degrees away from the rocket to make sure we're clear for liftoff. Now, first stage fuel loading did complete on time at T-minus 6 minutes. We're waiting to hear first stage LOX load complete at T-minus 3, and then a minute later, LOX loading on second stage. Strongback lower has been announced closeout for flight, so the strongback is in position, ready to support launch. At 1 minute before liftoff, you're going to hear the announcement Falcon 9 is in startup. That means the rocket's own internal computers are autonomously controlling the Falcon 9 countdown. Coming up on 3 minutes, waiting to hear how LOX loading is going.
Stage 1, LOX load is closed out.
And we've got closeout of the first stage LOX load.
Back here on Wallops Island.
On top of the Falcon 9, the GPS-3 space vehicle continues to be go.
We're about 2 minutes and 40 seconds away from that launch. Not sure on the track. I want to see if I see a dot come across our sky.
GPS team, we're working no issues on the rocket. And the weather continues to be green and good for launch.
But you're getting bonus coverage here on Channel 15 in both Westfield and Agawam, and also on YouTube. We're going to turn it over to commentary from SpaceX for the rest of this launch.
Turn any of that liquid oxygen into gaseous oxygen, which would be bad to pull through the pumps. Now, as a reminder, as we come up on 2 minutes, if we don't launch today, we have a backup opportunity tomorrow. Liftoff time would be scheduled at 9:39 p.m. Eastern Time.
Stage 2, LOX load closed out.
We're inside 2 minutes, closing out liquid oxygen on the second stage. We're now going to begin draining the liquid oxygen down the strongback, away from the second stage, back down through the lines, making sure that everything is clear out of that strongback for liftoff. And that's what's going to be creating the white clouds that you can see around the rocket right now coming off of the strongback as we vent the gaseous oxygen that's very cold, and it meets the warm, humid Florida air, and you get the big white clouds of condensation. That's normal for us. Next major activity again at T-minus 1 minute will be in startup. First and second stages will also begin to pressurize for launch.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
There's a call out. We've gone into startup. Next up, SpaceX launch director gives the final go for launch.
This is the mission director. Go for launch.
We're coming up at T-minus 30 seconds. Everything looking good. All systems are go for launch of Falcon 9 with the GPS-3 space vehicle number 4.
Stage 1 flight press.
15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and we have an abort. All agencies stand by.
As you can see right now, it's T-minus 2 seconds. We did not get to T-minus 0. We heard the call out of an abort. They're currently safing the vehicle. We're going to be listening to hear if we can get some more information.
SpaceX just had an abort at 2 seconds. The flight computers on the Falcon 9 did not like something they saw and shut down. Now, on the screen, they've recycled the countdown to 15 minutes. We've heard nothing from the flight
back
director.
Again. You can see the clock is reset to T-minus 15. That doesn't mean that we are going to attempt another launch. We are going to scrub for tonight because we'll be out of the window.
Yeah, they had a very tight window
that's where
tonight.
the clock resets to as they begin safing the vehicle. Right now, the team is busy making sure that the automated sequences to safe the launch vehicle are underway. We did not get down to T0. We did not try to launch. We had the abort, as you saw on the screen, at about T-minus 2 seconds, which is just the start as we get into the engine ignition sequence.
I think the window was only a couple minutes tonight.
Lighting rocket engines and then shutting them down is fairly normal. We do this in Texas when we test the stages. We also do this when we static fire the Falcon 9 on the launch pad, as we did with this rocket several days ago. So going through the sequence to safe the vehicle is fairly standard for the launch team. We're hoping that we may get an announcement from the launch director a little bit later over the countdown net.
I'm going to stick with the coverage here for a little bit until SpaceX terminates. See if we can find out what happened. I know they had a launch window of about 15 minutes, which does not allow them to recycle the count and start over. Yeah, the launch window for Falcon 9 between 9:43 and 9:58 p.m. An abort at 2 seconds wouldn't give them the time to recycle the count to 15 minutes and start over again. I'm going to stick with it a couple more minutes here and see what goes on before we terminate our coverage here from Chincoteague Island. We're covering a bonus. We had a successful launch of the Antares earlier tonight, but now we're looking at the Falcon 9 from SLC 40.
Again, back here at the webcast desk in SpaceX headquarters, Hawthorne, California. If you're just joining us, you can see T-minus 15 minutes.
The mission director is clear to scrub following today's abort. Stand by for discussion on recycle.
We've just heard the SpaceX launch director on the countdown net announce what we talked about earlier. We have a scrub for the evening. If you are with us, we got down to about T-minus 2 seconds approximately. We haven't seen the actual shutdown time. We were just starting the engine ignition sequence when we had a hold. We then began safing. We did not get into lighting all 9 of the Merlin rocket engines. Right now we're waiting to hear if there's anybody else coming up on the countdown net, but it doesn't appear so. So we did we did hold the countdown at about T-minus 2 seconds. Because our window only lasted 15 minutes tonight and we don't know how to quickly solve the issue and try to recycle the launch, plus we had already loaded propellant and we can't hold once we do that, we are scrubbed for the night, as you heard just a moment ago from the SpaceX launch director on the countdown net. We're going to hold on for just a little bit more, see if we can bring you any other information. Right now, we're still waiting to find out whether it was a ground or a flight vehicle issue that caused us to hold the countdown and scrub for the night.
We're going to stick with the coverage for another minute or two to see if they do have a cause for tonight's scrub for the SpaceX GPS 3 mission number 4 to launch another GPS satellite, third generation satellite into orbit. They did have a abort at 2 seconds approximately before launch. Here at Chincoteague Island, Wallops Island, we had a successful launch of the Antares 230 Plus which carried NG-14 into orbit. That should be on its way to the International Space Station, as separation for the second stage has now already occurred, and that's well on its way to catch up with the ISS. We're going to see if we can find out anything on Falcon 9 before we wrap up our coverage here from Virginia. Be heading back home tomorrow to start our quarantine. See if we get one more update before we terminate coverage here from Chincoteague Island, Virginia.
John Innsbrucker with you again from the webcast desk here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. Well, we dodged the weather tonight. We got down to almost T0, but we held at approximately T-minus 2 seconds as we were getting ready to ignite the 9 Merlin 1D engines that would then take us to liftoff and out into space. We are in a safing process right now, fairly standard for the Falcon 9. We've run this on the vehicle many times, those who have maybe seen static fires with us before. The vehicle is safe. Team is working through to make sure that they get all the steps complete. We did hear from the launch director, just reiterating that because of the hold at T-minus 2 seconds, we and the Space Force mission director have gone ahead and scrubbed the launch for the evening. Now, right now, the vehicle is being safed. Doesn't appear to be any issues on the launch pad, but that does end our launch opportunity for tonight. Now, our next launch opportunity is Saturday, tomorrow, at 9:39 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Now, we're not sure yet if we're going to recycle and try to launch in about 24 hours. The team's going to have to work through the issues, figure out whether or not we have to go inspect anything on the launch pad, how quickly we can do that. But we still have the possibility that we'll be protecting of trying to be able to go 24 hours from now. So whenever we do get another chance to launch Falcon 9 with GPS-3, Satellite Vehicle 4, hopefully you'll join us again at that next attempt. But until then, thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
And that'll be the end of the SpaceX coverage, and that'll be the end of our coverage as well, here with a successful launch of NG-14, the Antares 230 Plus in the Cygnus spacecraft, which is well on its way to orbit and probably had a nominal orbit insertion. We did not catch that on the Wallops feed. I'm sure everything would have went well, otherwise my Twitter feed would have blown up by now with all the space coverage. But that'll be it for us. We're going to wrap it up here from Chincoteague Island in Virginia. If Falcon 9 and the GPS-3 mission does go tomorrow night, we'll be covering that from quarantine. So we'll see you later, and have a good night.